Hello, Jordan.
Michael, we have a huge announcement right now before we dive into the podcast. The Online Fitness Business Mentorship is on sale. We only do this once, maybe twice a year. It is on sale right now, and this is the lowest the price will ever be. Because if we do 2 sales a year, one time, it is a discount on the current price. And the next time, it's not a discount. It's a, hey, just letting you know, we're going to raise the price after this. So this is the lowest the price will ever be if you want to join the mentorship. If you want to build an online fitness business that has the ability to help people all over the world, if you want to learn how to become a better coach, if you want to learn how to write better programs, if you want to learn how to communicate with your clients better, develop better systems so you can have more organization within your business, if probably most importantly, you want to be involved in a community of like-minded coaches who are not in it for getting rich and for getting more followers, but like-minded coaches who just want to be really good coaches and help people and spread goodness to the world and also be able to better support your own family and your own community and also work from wherever you want. Now's the time. Like there isn't a better time than right now. If you want to join, the link is in the show notes.
Very well said. Online Fitness Business Mentorship, fitnessbusinessmentorship.com. Hit apply now. The sale is live, $500 off of that initiation fee. Apply to join. If you just want to sell high ticket coaching, probably don't apply. If you
definitely don't apply.
Are looking to, sit on the beach all day and sip Mai Tais while you have your AG1 affiliate code racking up dollars so that you can spend it on hookers and cocaine, don't apply. Not for you. This isn't a guru, mastermind, nonsense BS course. If you listen to this podcast, you know who it's for and who it's not for.
And don't do cocaine. Don't do cocaine either.
Either way. Even if you are doing high ticket sales, still don't do cocaine.
And no judgment. That's just because it's different now than it was in the past. You know what I mean? Like fentanyl, you never know what's in there nowadays.
I think it's okay I think a little bit of judgment's okay around certain hard drugs.
I'm not going to judge anyone for that. I'm not going to judge anyone for hard drugs. I don't know. I'm not going to judge anyone for their drug use. We don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on. I'm just saying I'm scared for their health and for their safety. Don't do cocaine.
Jordan's in a very empathetic mood today.
I'm empathetic, bro. I'm an empathetic boy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I used to take the libertarian position of as long as you're not hurting anyone else, go do your thing. But I no longer have that position because I think that you can hurt your own soul. And
interesting.
But yeah, cocaine, not a good idea. Laced with fentanyl. Judgment or no judgment, not a good idea.
Yeah, it's just dangerous. It's really dangerous right now.
It's dangerous even without fentanyl, by the way.
Correct. Even without it. But it was far less dangerous. It's still bad, still dangerous.
Lower risk of dying immediately, but
Correct.
Maybe higher risk of dying slowly and painfully.
Yeah, I mean, your life expectancy goes down whether it's pure coke or not.
And quality of life I'm referring to.
Yeah. For sure. Probably patience with other people. Probably maybe you're crushing it with business. You're just like, let's go. But your other aspects of life.
I think that's like a 1980s movie thing.
For sure.
I don't think that people who take cocaine to work actually crush it with business. I think that's a myth. Anyway, we got real sidetracked here. There's a sale in the mentorship. Apply fitnessbusinessmentorship.com. And Jordan, lead us off.
Dude, here's what I'll say. Mike and I we discussed what we were gonna talk about today, because as of right now, we're 2 days now post-election here in the States. And what I want to do is this. We're not going to dive deep into all this. Who knows us? We might spend the entire episode talking about it. But what I'll say is this. If you're just completely tuckered out, you're just I don't want to hear another thing about the election. If that's you, either skip this episode or just fast forward.
Go to the number on the screen. David's going to throw it up on the screen. And Spotify.
When we're done
YouTube,
talking about it,
it'll show
you'll
you.
see it in the
skip to that
timestamps. Yeah, because we just can't not talk about it. We just can't not talk about it. It's like the result or not. It's historic. Every election is historic, and we just got to talk about it, man. It's crazy.
I think surprising is a good word. As of right now, Trump's up 4.5 to 5 million in the popular vote. Which is completely insane and unexpected.
He took every swing state.
Did he take every swing state?
He took every swing state.
Wild.
Crazy.
Oh yeah, you told me that Arizona called it this morning Insane.
Yeah, man. Bernie Sanders had a really great, I think it's good to start off with this quote from Bernie Sanders, because here's what I'm seeing online. Obviously there are some people who are really, really happy about it. And there are some people who are unbelievably devastated and completely, I've seen some of the most upset reactions, and not just hey, I'm sad or disappointed, more people freaking out. And Bernie Sanders, I think, had a really poignant quote basically saying, what did you expect? The left, and especially the far left the working class, abandoned the working class is the word that Bernie Sanders used. He's like, the left abandoned the working class, so the working class abandoned the left. It makes all the sense in the world from the perspective of, I think a lot of people are being very reductionist in their views on how people voted. And they're just being like, oh, they're racist. Oh, they're sexist. Oh, they're misogynist. Which, for whatever it's worth, if that is your view of what you think the majority of the United States population is, your brain has been warped to think that is what the majority of Americans have done. That's not the majority, at all. At all. That's not it. And if you just believe in your bones that's what's happened, then you've been unfortunately, I think you've been abused by media to be at that level of disillusionment of where you think, oh, it's purely racism, sexism. What the truth is, people want what's best for their family. They want to be able to make more money. They want to be able to take their family on vacation a couple times a year. They want they want to feel secure in their homes and in their country. That's really what happened. And Bernie Sanders' quote was so on point. The far left abandoned the working class, so the working class abandoned the far left. It makes all the sense in the world. Yeah,
man. There's so much to talk about. It's funny that you kind of went. First of all, I do really like that quote, especially coming from him. I don't, you mentioned economy, and you mentioned people wanting to, lower prices, supporting their family. I might have a bad understanding of why people vote the way that they do, because my interpretation of a lot of this move, I've seen a lot of Democrats move right. I saw a lot of centrists in this election voting right wing. I saw a lot of libertarians. I saw a lot of independents moving right. I saw a lot of people who were apolitical showing up and voting or saying they were going to vote. And I could be wrong on the intention, because a lot of people do say economy is high up there. It felt to me like it was more driven by cultural issues, more driven by a lot of the wokeism, more driven by all of the race stuff, more driven by DEI initiatives, more driven by America moving away from meritocracy. And you could see that in college admissions and the changes in affirmative action recently over the last 4 years, you could say. Yeah. And I could be wrong. I mean, border was obviously a big thing.
I don't think that was the major. I think they played a part. I think they definitely played a role. I think those were like things that people were not happy about. But I really think the major things that caused these people to vote the way they did was economy and border. I think those are the two major things.
Slash, and maybe even throw crime in there, or like, you see a lot of these big cities that aren't prosecuting theft under $1,000. Like there's just a lot more riffraff over the last 4 years. But when I hadn't even been on Instagram, and you were talking about a lot of the people who were really having strong negative reactions to Trump,
like just straight up meltdowns. Yeah.
Yeah. And the few I started clicking around looking for it, and what I saw reminded me of like the summer of 2020, basically. A lot of white guilt, a lot of like we are awful as white people, that we like, having the chart that showed like voting by race and gender. A lot of like Mexicans are racist because Mexicans voted for Trump. Like a lot of Latinos like need to like really
huge amount. Yeah.
Yeah. But the number of people saying like they need to evaluate their morals and all this grandstanding, like that felt to me like it was one of the major causes of the shift. I wouldn't even call it a shift towards Trump. I would call it a shift away from the far left.
Yes. It wasn't for Trump. It was away from where they were going. Yeah.
And so for that to then be the reaction after he wins again is just like, more of that over the next 4 years is just going to hurt your chances in 2028.
100%.
What I actually liked, what I saw, Dean Phillips, who's was a congressman in my state of Minnesota, Democrat congressman. He made a run at Biden and got blocked from getting on the ballot for the Democratic primary back, like 2 years ago now at this point. But basically, the Democrats boxed him out, let Biden go, run again. And then we found out basically on debate night, on that first Trump versus Biden debate, that, all of these people who are saying that Biden's slowing down cognitively, to put it nicely, to be honest, but all these people saying that, they weren't edited videos. They weren't like just grabbing little clips or little one-offs of him. Like he actually is really slowing down, sadly. And it became really clear that that was hidden for at least a year, if not multiple years, from the American people intentionally. And then they didn't even do a speed run. They could have done a speed run primary to let Democrats select who they want to put into office. Yep. They didn't even do that. They appointed Harris, and the popular vote went 5 million, 4.5, wherever it's at. I don't know. I think over 90% of the votes are in now. But the people spoke that they didn't like that. And yes. So it'll be interesting in 28 to see a good, fair primary from the Democrats and see what kind of candidate they put out there.
There's a lot that I want to hit on there. Going back a little bit, it's gross for me to see when people are shocked at how people vote based on their race. And it's like, for example, the Latino Hispanic vote, a huge percentage voted for Trump, a huge percentage. And I see a lot of people who are upset that Trump got in. They're being like, oh my God, like, how could they do that? They're self-hating type of a thing. I'm like, that is so racist
and so demeaning.
It's racist to say that because of your ethnicity, because of where you're from, you must be self-hating because as if there might not be another reason that you potentially couldn't know about, that because of your race, you are self-hating is the definition of racist, that you must vote this way because of your race. It's gross and it's disgusting. And if that's how someone is thinking, then you've been brainwashed.
Yeah.
Like, and if you don't think so, then you got real thinking to do. Why do I think that based on someone's race, this is how they must vote? And if you can't think of another reason, well, you got to start exploring. Now, in terms of people are surprised at how, like, what were you
Can
gonna
you
say?
hold on to that? Just
Yeah.
because, real quick, seeing tweets with hundreds of thousands of likes of people being like, don't Latinos know that Trump is going to deport you? Why would you vote
Oh
for
my
him?
gosh.
Is
Yeah.
like, and hundreds of thousands of likes on a tweet like that. It's like, you think that everyone who is Latin American is an illegal immigrant. That's
Correct.
what you're saying when you tweet
Yes.
that. Is like, you think
Yes.
all Mexicans are illegal. It's absolutely disgusting.
And you're assuming that just because someone is Latin American, they support illegal immigration.
Right. Yep.
Which is, imagine spending 3, 5, 7, 10 years or more working to get here legally. Working, like, I have a very close friend of mine who's a jiu-jitsu professor who came to the United States, who worked, he left his wife and he left his kids back home and worked for years to save enough money and worked legally to bring them over legally and then become legal citizens. And imagine how upset someone like that might feel to know that people are coming over illegally and not having to go through the same process. Never mind all the issues with a border that isn't secure from the perspective of how many hundreds of thousands of both young girls and young boys who are sex trafficked and who are dying, who are literally dying and being sold as slaves and sex trafficked coming over the border. It's like, border isn't just about not letting people over from Hispanic countries. It's actually about, okay, let's make sure people aren't being sold into slavery, which is an unbelievably huge problem. Let's make sure that people aren't coming over from other countries who are, like, in the Middle East, who might have terrorist aspirations, which is a very real issue. But to look at someone and say, well, you're Latino, you're Hispanic, there's no way you could support border control, is also the definition of racist.
Yeah.
There's so much racism coming from what they're saying, which, again, like, for me, you've been misled by media. And when I was watching CNN during the election, especially even after the election, I saw something that really upset me from some of the commentators. After the election, when Kamala clearly lost, they started saying all the things that Kamala had done wrong leading up to the election. And never once did these journalists talk about what she had done wrong before the election happened. For example, one of the things when she had the interview and they had said, what would you do differently than Biden has done? And she said, nothing comes to mind. Not a single one of them said, ooh, you wouldn't change anything? Like, you're talking about starting something new, but they all were like just supporting. If you think that she should have done something differently, it actually would have helped her campaign for you to do your job as a journalist and say, I don't think she said the right thing there. Maybe she should change her approach. And I'm not just singling out CNN. I'm only saying that because I was watching CNN during every media platform does this. Every legacy media does this. But if you're only watching one side of media, which, by the way, I don't like any of it, but if you're only watching one side and you are shocked that this happened and your gut instinct is it's just racism, sexism, misogyny, you've been misled. And people are voting for what they believe will be good for them and their families. They're voting for hope, not for hate, is really what it boils down to. They're voting for hope for their families and for our country, not because they hate other people, but because they want prosperity and security. That's what they're voting for.
Well said.
It's very interesting. I think that the messaging needs to change from the Democratic Party. They're upset at a lot of white men for voting the way they did, but for the last 8 years, they've been saying white men are toxic and white men are horrible people. And it's like, why would you expect white men to come closer to you if all you do is blame them for having this inherent toxic, like these toxic traits? Like, imagine if you and I, and I'm not saying we're saying this, but imagine if we said, oh yeah, like there's this toxic femininity that is just permeating society, you would immediately have a wall go up and push the other way immediately, as you should. So what do you think is going to happen when a massive part of your party's rhetoric is this white male toxic masculinity? Like, you're pushing people away. If you want to promote unity and you want to get people to come together, then you need to find messaging that brings people together and doesn't separate them based on race and gender. Like, that shouldn't be a crazy thing to say.
Not crazy at all. Not crazy at all. Not just push people away based on those categories, but also the hyper fixation on those categories for the last 8 years. Like, we've become completely obsessed as a society with group identity over individual identity, and primarily race, sex, sexual orientation being the ways that we like to group people the most.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny that you're saying a part of the Democrats' message is going to, like, railing against these toxic white males, patriarchy, because I must be in a complete echo chamber, because I haven't heard any of that in years. And so I'm really like...
Have you not seen that since the election?
Oh, you mean in the last few days?
Yeah.
I saw it last night when you told me it was out there, and then I had to go look for specific people. It's actually very interesting the way that different platforms and For You pages work, because I guess my lack of interaction with certain individuals over the years has led to them not showing up on feeds. Also, keep in mind, I haven't watched Instagram stories in 5 years. Like that, that's
why you're not seeing it.
I don't consume Instagram stories. So that's actually probably the bigger piece of it, is when I started clicking on people's stories, I started seeing, like, you know, this kid I grew up with who's a real Trumper to the core, and he's posting like hooray stuff. And then the next person is someone who's posting about white guilt, and like it's just all over the place. That wasn't even content that I had been consuming.
Yeah. And I also, because I don't really go on Twitter. I know you're more on Twitter. Like, when I started going on Twitter after you told me to, that was a completely different, I got fed completely different content than on Instagram. Instagram was, it's like two different worlds. It's two completely different worlds. I mean, I interact with a lot of, and I know you do too, but I interact with more people on social media. I am very friendly with and interact with people from all sides of the political spectrum on social media a lot.
As you should be as a fitness coach. Absolutely.
Like, as a human, I think you should be able to interact with them. And that's one of the major things I've seen is people being like...
As a human, if you're not on social media for your business, I don't think you should be interacting on like... Like, I just think that's a bad use. DMing
from a
people,
business perspective,
Yeah, from a mental health perspective, if you're on social for 6 hours a day and you're interacting, you're commenting, you're DMing with people, you're all over the place, you're making content, whatever, but it's just to kill time. Like, get outside, touch grass.
Yeah. Agreed.
But yes, you were saying that you interact with people from all over the place, and
and so I see a lot of different posts. I mean, I regularly see posts from people talking about how, like, white male toxic masculinity, like, and sometimes I'll converse with them, and I'm just like, do you think that this is helping your cause?
Mm-hmm.
And then never mind the actual, like, what does this actually mean? And let's dive into it, and like, let's actually discuss this. But if your goal is to get people to adopt what you believe is right, do you, like, if you look at someone you admire, I don't know, Martin Luther King Jr., if you admire someone like that, like a true, like an actual hero, in what world did he ever speak like that?
Mm-hmm.
Like a legitimate, not just American hero, a world hero. If you look up to someone like him, and why in the world would you use the rhetoric that you're using if he wouldn't use something like that?
Because they're different goals. Martin Luther King existed in a time when blacks didn't have equal rights and were fighting for something that should exist.
Correct.
Now we live in a time where there are equal rights in society. And what a lot of these people are fighting for isn't equal opportunity. They want equal outcome, which is what so much of the inclusiveness and DEI initiatives are, and having the proper ratio of this color to this color and this gender and this orientation to this within every sport and every company and every university and et cetera, rather than letting the cream rise to the top.
Mm-hmm.
If there's not a single white guy in the NBA, great. I want to see the best basketball that exists.
Mm-hmm.
Period.
Yeah.
Period. If the NBA was 100% people who are of Chinese descent, every single person, amazing. If I'm a basketball fan, I want to see the best basketball.
Yeah.
That's what I care about.
I want to see the sickest dunks, the best crossover. I just want to see the best game ever. I don't care what race. I don't care what gender. I just want to see the best game ever.
Yeah.
That's it.
If I have a company and I need 20 engineers and the 20 best people who applied are all women, amazing. Hire every single one of them, put them on the project, let them rip. I don't need 50-50. I don't need any kind of this. I'm trying to think of what the quota, like any kind of quota system. I don't want that. I want a meritocracy.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. 100%.
Jordan called me delicate this morning. He said that I was telling Jordan, I was comparing us because when we were preparing for this conversation, I was like, all right, we'll talk about it, but then I'm just going to start ranting and riffing and saying unplanned things. And he was like, no, you're not.
I feel like I've been more outspoken than you in this conversation. I feel like I've been really going hard.
That's wild. We should put a poll on Instagram. I would love to.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's do it. Maybe I'm just completely oblivious, but I feel like I've gone in I'm trying to be just as blunt and truthful as I possibly can, I think
it's been a good conversation. I know you like to compete. I don't know that we need to compete on absolutely everything.
I mean, we could.
You did call me delicate though.
I did. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. You have a delicate side.
I don't have a delicate bone in my body, for better or worse.
Listen, here's what we're going to need you to do. We're going to need you to go leave a 5-star review on the podcast, because guaranteed this is going to get some people all riled up and get really upset at us. So if you've enjoyed what I thought was a pretty open-minded, honest discussion around American politics, please just go leave a 5-star review. A written review is the best, because guaranteed there are going to be people who are really upset and for whatever reason. So please, if you haven't left a review, please do. But anyway, are we done with the political discussion, or what do you want to do now? Any more you want to talk about?
Up to you. I'm very curious. Podcast is so interesting because you don't really know who's listening.
Mm-hmm.
I might just be echo chambered in my entire life, but I would be. Yeah, I mean, I guess some people are going to be offended.
100%. There's no way people aren't going to be upset. Some people aren't going to be upset. And there's no way. I mean, hopefully at this point we've cultivated an audience that is, even if they disagree, they're more open-minded and they know who we are and what we stand for. But I mean,
disagreement's great.
Yeah.
Being offended is
a choice.
Yeah, just another level of you can look. I have disagreements with my best friends, but that doesn't mean you're not going to have conversations and love those people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I've just seen a lot of people saying, if you voted a different way, or I mean, you and I have both seen the video where that woman is literally saying, if you didn't vote for Kamala, fuck you. Which is just so crazy. But it also, one thing that I think there's a lot of cognitive dissonance in the group of people who are like, if you didn't vote for Kamala and you're a woman, then you're a self-hating woman. It's a very interesting narrative where it's like there's a lot of women who voted for Kamala who are mad at women who didn't vote for Kamala. And they're saying you're a self-hating woman, or you had this internalized misogyny, which is that is misogynistic. Again, to say that this woman couldn't potentially have an intelligent thought or her own personal reasons as to why she's voting not for Kamala. It's like, it's really crazy to me that people can't comprehend that maybe there's a different worldview that doesn't involve misogyny or sexism or like there's a different worldview going on. And these are people I can always tell they've never studied history. They've never studied history because they think that right now, like this is the pinnacle of evil. This is the worst the world has ever been. I'm like, oh my God, go back 100 years. Never mind. Like just go back 100 years and live a day. Live a day. Mm-hmm. It's another thing I've been seeing that's been it's actually a very dangerous mentality. A lot of people are talking about how there's no question, data shows that more college educated people tended to vote for Kamala as opposed to Trump. What I've seen people saying is that, clearly, if you're voting for Trump, then you aren't smart. And they're equating college education with intelligence. And, oh man, that's a big, big, big problem. And I'm thinking, and one thing I would love to have a conversation around that is with, okay, if you think that college education equates to intelligence, go work on a farm. Go work on a farm. Let's see how well you can grow crops. Let's see how well you can do in the world. Because you're only talking about your one area, which, by the way, if you've gone to college, there's a lot of non-education shit going on there. There's a lot of stuff going on in college that is not education. Never mind the potential biases of the professors. Never mind so many issues with college education. But to say that someone isn't educated because they didn't go to college is, the amount of issues with that, the potential racism, the potential sexism, the potential ableism. Like there's so many things that go like with that discussion, but to equate education, high college education with intelligence, you're making a big leap. And there are many people who don't have that higher education who have an area of, this is why specialty schools can be so wonderful. You have someone who specializes in something, let's say someone who's a farmer, it's like guaranteed they're more educated than you on what it takes in order to grow crops, in order to run a farm, in order to take care of livestock, in order to all the things that you depend on, but you aren't educated on how to do. So to assume that you are just a smarter person because you got a degree, get the fuck out of here, man. That's been a wild thing I've seen a lot of.
Interesting. Yeah. I completely agree with you on that. And what are they even angling at? Are they angling at my vote should be worth more than your vote?
Dude, I took a screenshot. Yes, yeah. Someone literally said that. I took a screenshot because I actually replied to someone's story and I deleted it. I was like, I don't want to get in this conversation. I shouldn't have done that. In this person's story, who you and I both know.
Well, tell me. We can bleep it. Interesting.
He posted a graph of, interesting. So the higher American education, this is direct quote. Actually, he's probably going to hear this podcast because I think he listens.
I love it.
He wrote, interesting. The higher an American education, the more likely they are to vote Democratic. I wonder what the correlation is. Can we bring back separate but equal and tweak a couple of features?
Well, that opens up a whole different discussion, because then it's like, do you want, first of all, this is completely hypothetical, one vote per person over the age of 18, citizen, boom, go. Like that. There's nothing wrong with that system. But if you're opening up the discussion of not everybody gets a vote, it's definitely not based on a piece of paper that you bought from a university, right?
Correct.
Like that's what you're buying. You're taking out debt to buy a piece of paper from a university, and you might learn a few things along the way. But if you're going to have that unequally weighted voting, there are many other roads you go down with that make more sense.
Or it's just a dangerous road to go down.
I have empathy for him for posting that, because I think he probably, really has a lot of pride in the recent
Education that he got.
continued education and like career change and what he's doing, and so I have some empathy for him.
I understand that, but that's an issue. Is like when you go through this thing and then you think that essentially I couldn't believe that he'd said we need separate but equal, but tweak a couple things just because now you're college educated. Come on, that is literally the definition of discrimination. Your opinion isn't valued as much as my opinion because I took this track. Meanwhile, there are people who've taken many other tracks that you wouldn't be able to survive if it weren't for this person and this person and this person who don't have a college education. It's a major problem. And that's one of the things that I think that's why I think the working class, as Bernie Sanders said, has moved away from the left, because people are being discriminated against from the group of people who are saying there should be no discrimination. But their actions, like John Deloney says, your actions are a language. So you can say all you want, but if your actions are saying something else, it's a big problem. And I think that a lot of people have realized, the actions of this group are actually discriminatory against people, and they don't even realize it.
Yeah. I think we also need to give a little grace for someone to have an emotional outburst for a day or two in the wake of some news that they
who's empathetic?
Not expecting. I am delicate. Maybe I am delicate.
I knew you were
Jordan
delicate.
was right all along. I said
you were delicate this morning, and you went on a tirade. You're like, I'm not fucking delicate.
I don't think I said the F word there.
No, you didn't drop the F-bomb. I was adding that for extra effect. Don't be so delicate. Come on.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with being a little bit delicate here and there. Well, I had one other thing that I was just going to say. Oh, the last interesting. It looked like before we jumped on, when I was in the gym, I saw Biden was giving a speech, and it looked like, I couldn't hear, obviously there's no volume, but based on what was on the TV, it was like peaceful transfer of power, like looked like he was kind of saying the right things in that talk. Again, I didn't listen, but it is interesting that a lot of like really big names and, Trump's political opponents basically can call him Hitler and can call him a Nazi for years and then just have a peaceful transfer of power.
Correct.
Because if he is Hitler, there shouldn't be a peaceful transfer of power.
Exactly.
Right?
Correct.
Like that just shows that this was all marketing to brand him in a certain way to try to win an election, which is, and by the way, I'm sure you can cherry pick on both sides times when that happens, but it's very prevalent here in this example.
It's honestly, I am the most upset with the media for how I think like I said to you, I think they've abused people. I think it's actual abuse what the media has done to consistently go over the top and say that someone is Hitler. Never mind my personal issues with that. Like, it is a spit in the face to every single person, not just Jews. Over 12 million people, 6 million Jews who were slaughtered by Hitler. It is a spit in the face of every single one of them and all their descendants to call Trump Hitler.
Yeah.
And even like it's disgusting. Mm-hmm. And then to gaslight people and to make them believe that he is Hitler. What do you think they're going to do? You've just made them believe. And what a mindfuck to see the media and the entire administration saying he's Hitler, he's a fascist, he's a Nazi, and then be like, all right, well, now let's do a peaceful transfer of power. It's like, hold on. I thought you said that he was the literal definition of evil. What do you mean a peaceful transfer of power? If he's actually Hitler, then that's not democracy. Then then we've got a real fucking problem. Yeah. So you can't go from one end to the other. It's like, how about throughout the entire election process, we have more substantive, moderate discussions, which, by the way, I think that's what the podcasts did.
Yeah.
I think the podcast allowed people to see like, okay, let me just sit down. And by the way, if you haven't watched, if you haven't watched any of the candidates sit down for 2 or 3 hours straight in an unedited conversation on any number of the podcasts they've been on, go watch it. Like, it's actually, I think that's what we need going forward. None of these like 5, 10, 15-minute slots that are highly edited on these media organizations. Go watch them sit down and have unedited conversations for 3 hours. You might be able to scoot around a 10, 15, 20-minute conversation, especially if it's edited. For 3 hours, you get real insight into what these candidates actually are like and what they believe in. And if you haven't watched that, go watch it.
Shine light. Light is the best disinfectant. Couldn't agree more.
Yes.
All right. We've got a sale for the mentorship.
Is this the whole episode?
Fitnessbusinessmentorship.com. This is the whole episode. Or the
timestamp. We got to go back and edit the beginning and just be like,
no, it'll be funny. It'll be funny. David's going to put something.
David's going to put
something on the screen that's like,
just like, this is the entire episode is politics. This is post-election politics.
If you want an example of two people putting just raw, authentic, what they're thinking about conversation above their business in a pivotal episode of the How to Become a Personal Trainer podcast, where we are officially launching a sale, Jordan and I just had what apparently is a very divisive conversation. So,
bro, super divisive.
We'll be back next week.
Next week, we're having weekly. AOC and Alex Jones on. We're having both of them come on to have a real discussion.
Not actually. That'd be incredible.
Holy shit. Yeah. And Kanye West is going to join as well. And Ilhan Omar. We're getting a new squad. We're getting a new squad to come on.
No, in all honesty, there won't be any politics next week.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
Never say never, but we'll be back to our regularly scheduled programming.
Have a wonderful week. Talk to you soon.